What happened to Flight 800? How could a jet merely explode in midair? Tonight, a possible theory. Back to Frankly Speaking. All right, we're back again. All right, Dave, we've got photos up there of the radar that particular evening. Why don't you go into what we're looking at there?
Okay, these radar images are provided, they were sent to a former airline pilot and a safety specialist, 30 years safety specialist down in Florida, a fellow by the name of Richard Russell. He then, after having gotten them in February, he then made them available to, among other people, to Pierre Salinger, who then released these, and Paris Match published them on March 17th. And then a former NASA computer specialist took these these radar blips, and in this one particular shot, he put four. He overlaid them on top of each other. Now, what we have here is we have TWA 800, and it's progressing this way. 1, 2, 3, 4 correspond at the same time. Okay, and then there's a U.S. air flight here that's flying at about 24,000 feet, as I remember, and it's headed this way. And TWA 800 is at about 13,500 feet at this. And then there is an unknown blip that is coming from this side. Okay. Now, what is out of screen here is there's another series of blips that is coming this way. Oh, I'm sorry, here they are up here is the edge of it. And this is supposedly, this series of blips that starts off here is the P3. Now eventually what's going to happen is all of these in the same, looks in the same vertical space. If you will, imagine a shopping mall parking lot, okay, and one maybe where there's even a 2 or 3 elevation parking garage here. What you have on the screen is the radar scope, is someone saying, okay, I know that US Air is flying at 24,000 feet. I know that TWA 800 is flying at 13,700 feet because of numbers on here. On another one over here, we showed numbers also, but the numbers tell you the elevation, and so we know that they're on the third deck and on the first deck, okay, like that. But these blips here, they're shaped differently, not because they're shaped like a missile, but they're shaped differently because each radar screen, when something flashes on there, and it doesn't know what it is, it gives it its distinctive, different looking shape. And in this particular shape, this particular screen, they're oblong. And what they're going to say is a Navy reconnaissance, unarmed Navy reconnaissance patrol plane is coming here from here. But the radar screen doesn't know at what level they are. Yeah. These two here and either one of these other aircraft could all be coming at the same time. You know how you get in a parking lot and somebody's coming from that direction and someone's coming from that direction and someone's coming from this, and they're all crossing over the lines and not staying in their lanes? The radar operator has no idea where these people are.
Could that have been a shadow blip?
Well, this one, some of the analysts say, well, it could be, except that it shows a specific track toward, in later sequences, it shows a specific track toward TWA 800, or in the same direction. as TW800, as does the P3. And all of these will arrive in the same, maybe vertical stack, or maybe 3 in the same location, like TW800, and these other 2 at the same time. Now, the Navy says this P3 and also the FBI says that this P3 was flying at 20,000 feet. Other people who support a missile theory say it's unknown, it has no identification marker on it, you have no idea exactly what it was. But whether it was a P3 or not, you still can't tell exactly what it was. So, you know, that's really the problem. You know, what are these things?
Okay. Now, let's get to the part of this that's most controversial. And this is based, and I want to put this to Dave, because I know you're going to put a disclaimer on this as well.
Excuse me, one last thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Is that 3 of the blips arrive in the same area at the same time. The P3 goes on, the U.S. Air goes on, TWA-800 and this blip fall off the screen at approximately the same time.
Okay. Very interesting point.
Very important, too.
Yes, very important. All right, as I started to say, this is the controversial part of this, and it is your sources theory as much as anything else. And you have looked at this thing, and we're going to go right into this thing. Explain what this particular person has told you is a strong possibility.
Okay, when we, at the newspaper I work at, the Press Enterprise, you know, we're on the edge of the desert. We're here in Southern California. We're 3,000 miles away. Why are we interested in TWA-800? And one afternoon, a source of mine calls, a very good source about other stories, and says, with military connections, says, you're going to find that TW-800 was a victim of friendly fire. This was back in August, okay? So, you know, that's an astounding revelation or an astounding statement. So I began looking into it, and I really honestly couldn't find anything initially to support it. I went to different agencies and said, were you having any exercises that night? And I was told, no, none scheduled at all. These sources said, go to an airport and get an aviation map. And you will find on there all of these exercise zones, warning zones off of the coast of New York, and actually they're off the west coast and off Hawaii, and you'll find these exercise areas that are set aside for war games. And so I did. I went down to the Riverside Airport, and there on the aviation maps, general aviation maps, are all these exercise areas. And then I was told these areas were hot that night. There were exercises scheduled. And so I pursued that and finally found through an FAA administrator that indeed the night that TWA-800 went down, there was close to 17,000 square miles nearby that were activated for war games. We also found from a source inside the Pentagon that there was at least one Navy, there was one submarine going that was in a war game in that area, and it was P3, this P3 that was over here, probably was active with it. Also found from other Navy sources that submarines, like this map, you're going to worry about my drawing, but anyway, that submarines out here sometimes hold exercises in which special force groups or SEALs, commando type groups get off in a small boat, and then they can have shoulder fired missiles, you know, that they use or will even practice with. So contrary to what I was told by official sources, Navy, etc., that nothing was happening, when I began investigating, I found that an awful lot was happening and a lot was scheduled.
When these exercises take place, exclude this for the moment.
Okay.
Just in general. Okay. When these exercises take place, is there not some kind of warning given to them from the military to the FAA.
Yes, absolutely, there are, and it was these official documents that I got that showed that the area closest to where TWA 800 went down was off limits to air traffic up to 6,000 feet. From the surface of the ocean up to 6,000 feet was prohibited. That was about 10,000 square miles. And a larger area, away about another 7,000 square miles, was off limit up to 10,000 feet elevation. Early on, it didn't make sense to me why they would be at, that seems awfully low level.
Right.
But because of the nature of the exercises, that is plenty of space.
How far out are we talking from the coast, these exercises? What is that area?
Out to 180 or 200 miles.
How- 200
from 12 miles. 12 miles to
out.
180 or 200.
So this is still within striking distance of that aircraft?
Yeah, depending on what the striking distance is. Early on, they said that a Stinger, a shoulder-fired missile,
Right.
an older one, could only reach elevation 13,000 feet, but the newer ones can reach 25,000 feet. And their radar, they don't home in on an engine. The other missiles that are used by many of the navies of the world, including ours and Britain and Canada and others, a little bit larger, can go up to 200 miles.
Who operates out there besides us?
Besides us, the United States continually has war games off the coast with the British and the Canadians, other allies, NATO allies, in which they practice handing missiles. Now they're doing a lot of practicing of handing missiles off from a ship to aircraft to between units. As a matter of fact, they've even got exercises now where a group, a commando type group, can go onto the beach and control a missile with a laptop computer.
We're coming to the end of this segment, so I'm going to break it here, but when we come back, I want to get more into this war games thing and why this plays a role in this tragedy. We'll be right back.
He didn't look. He didn't listen.
It's like him believing that if I could see him, that I could stop the train.
He drove right out in front of me. Didn't he know that sign meant yield?
Takes me a mile and a half to stop. A mile and a half.
The whole time I'm just praying. Praying that she would just move. She didn't move.
Come on, you're gonna make us late.
Hey, man, what is this with you? What's your problem?
Come on, Mike. You're gonna make us late.
There's never a train here. Just go for it. No one's gonna see you.
The light's probably broken.
Yeah, let's go. Come on, Mike.
Come on, chicken.
Yeah!
I wish I hadn't listened to him.
Okay.